Everybody, and welcome back to the video. This one is going to be the Rick Santelli rant. I'm going to be dissecting it and kind of explaining what he is talking about. I saw a lot of comments on the video that was posted, which didn't get very many views. You can see here only 15,000 views for something pretty major that you don't really see very often on CNBC. Here's the Paul Tudor Jones interview, got 110,000. And obviously, they didn't post this on the CNBC account, so it doesn't have as much exposure. But 15,000 views this video is way more entertaining and informative than I thought than the Paul Tudor Jones. So let's get right into the video. In the beginning, Scott Wapner and Jim Cramer are kind of making fun of Rick Santelli's take on inflation and that we're going to see a ramp up since the Fed will not decide to raise rates anytime soon. And to their surprise, he is still on the call. They thought he was long gone and had hung up, and this is the start of the video.
In some respect, the Fed deserves the benefit of the doubt until they get it wrong. And if they got it wrong, I don't know. Where's the evidence that they've gotten it wrong? Pretty much every 6.
So the interesting thing there, he was saying there is going to be hyperinflation. You couldn't quite hear it, but on the subtitles, Rick was saying there is going to be hyperinflation. There is going to be hyperinflation. I'll play it back here. When Jim Cramer finds out that they're still on the call, he starts smiling and can't help to smirk just because of his take on this.
Where's the evidence that they've gotten it wrong? Pretty much every 6 days. For what?
Look at him react here.
How?
Look at his eyeballs light up.
Rick, but I'm glad you are. How have they gotten it wrong? They've got everything.
So now Scott is just trying to get his take on how the Fed has got their stance wrong on inflation by keeping rates low and by using quantitative easing through monetary policy, using stimulus and buying bonds, and especially buying non-government bonds. So they're buying corporate bonds, which was very controversial at the time.
I'll tell you why. Because they do what's best so we don't feel them tearing off for the Band-Aid. There's going to be a price to pay. None of this is for free. Nothing in the world is for free. Somebody always pays. And to think that we should stop kicking the tires because it doesn't jump out at you is how incorrect the central banking.
All right, so there he's talking about nothing is for free. He's talking about the quantitative easing, like I was saying earlier. Loads and loads of stimulus have been pumped into the system, trillions of dollars, and the rates have been kept artificially low at basically zero for over a year now. And he's saying that this is going to cause a long-term effect, maybe not on us, talking about himself or Jim Cramer, but there's going to be a huge effect in the future. So let's get in further into the video.
It isn't just the Fed, it's everything. We lower the bar for all the pain and all the payments that have come due, and we just keep stacking them up in the future. And believe me, Scott, this probably isn't going to affect you and me. It's not going to affect Jim, but it's going to affect a lot of people that are probably too young to pay close enough attention. Look, you are certainly, Rick, not the only one who is voicing that concern. But if I would have pulled a soundbite, if I'm the only one or not.
All right, so this is interesting here. This is where the conversation starts to turn sour. Up until this point, Rick has been pretty level-headed and has been explaining his points pretty reasonably and trying to convince the audience using his ethos and doing it pretty effectively using just his knowledge and facts. But Scott is trying to kind of poke at him a little bit more and awake the rising bear. And when he says, I don't care how many people think this, that is when the conversation really starts to turn. And you can see just how angry he gets after this, what Scott says next.
If I would have pulled a soundbite from you post 08 or 09 and just played it now, it would sound just like what you just said right now. You know what I said? I said asset prices, financial asset prices. They scream. That was inflation, all right. It was financial asset inflation because they...
All right, so what Scott was talking about there, he said, if I pulled clips from '08, you would support some of the spending, suggesting that he would have supported the bank bailouts that the government and the Fed, in specifically, initiated after the '07 to '09 crisis. They really bought out a lot of the banks and helped them, and then in turn, they used a lot of this money to buy back shares, and instead of really helping out the loans and people who are using the bank, the customers and people who are losing their houses, which was very controversial at the time. And he is really about to explode, so let's not keep you guys...
Their balance sheet to protect them from escaping, and they won't be able to do that again, Scott. Trust me. What is it?
So
over $8 trillion in that balance sheet?
That's the hyperinflation you were talking about back in '08.
I never said the word hyperinflation. Don't put words in my mouth. Never said hyperinflation. Pull the tape. Show me hyperinflation. You may
never
have said
the words.
All right, so here Scott is really pressing him, and he's really not backing down to Rick, even though Rick is getting very aggressive. And he said, well, I remember you saying hyperinflation, and then you expect hyperinflation to happen after the '08 recession and the bailouts of the banks. And he's saying that he never said that, and even if he did, which he says he didn't say, I don't know, I don't have the clips, and I wasn't watching the show back then, but he says that there was going to be asset inflation, not inflation, which is completely different. Asset inflation is just one specific type. It's just one slice of the pie, and is very small of inflation. And if we look here, there kind of has been a good amount of asset inflation if we look at the max from '08. We look here, there aren't too many major dips or downward trends for long periods of time since '08. It has just gone on a straight J curve, straight up, almost exponentially. And even if we look here, the May of 2020 was almost you can barely see it. It's right, or March of 2020, you can barely see the little small dip here. So there are very small crashes, but over time it has been exponential over the past almost decade and a half. And if we look at the S&P, there's no difference. If we look at the max from 2008, it is almost 5x, from about 900 to about 45,000 or 4,500. So he's kind of right when he said asset inflation, which I'm not sure if he said hyperinflation in general, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
I played Peacemaker maybe 1 or 2 times in my life.
All right, so this is very interesting. He said commodity prices. Now, commodities have gone up recently, and he is right there again. Lumber has tripled since the beginning of the coronavirus. The steel has gone up dramatically. Copper's gone up dramatically. And then here, Jim Cramer tries to reach out an olive branch, and he tries to butt in. And he's kind of like, sort of like an owner trying to break up two dogs fighting. You really just can't get into that if they're play fighting. And you are not going to be, there's not going to be a winner in that. So let's see how he fails to reach out this olive branch.
I make my own peace.
No,
I don't need any help.
No, that was
Jim,
actually
truly.
trying to be. No, I was trying to be that guy.
I mean, don't need it.
All right, well,
Don't agree with much of what you think about the Fed either, Jim, to be honest.
So that was pretty funny, and this is at the point where I started cracking up, when he is just on a steamroll tear. He does not care what anyone thinks right now, and he is very emotionally invested in this, and you can tell. This is his job, essentially, and his job is on the line, basically, if he's going off this hard. And you can tell that he just doesn't care about the consequences at this point. He is almost at the point of verbally abusing people, but he keeps going and it prevails. And Jim's reaction is just quite funny. He just gets deflated. You can see his shoulders slump, his head's down. He acts very sad about it, but I think this could be sarcasm, but who knows. and he continues to insult him and his
That's
views.
all right. It's all right. We disagree. I agree with one thing you said. They know nothing. You should have stuck with that line.
Yeah, and maybe at that moment they didn't know anything. And
So he is alluding to a video Jim Cramer had in 2007 where he put out in an interview on his Stop Trading show, and he said that that the Fed at the time, the current Fed chairman, who was Ben Bernanke, knew nothing, along with Alan Greenspan. He said they know nothing and went on a huge rant. I will do another explanation video on it after this, so you'll definitely have to check it out. And he goes on a tangent just about how the Fed knows nothing and how they raised rates during a time when everyone was hurting with their houses who couldn't afford the interest payments. And instead of lowering rates, which current Fed chairman or previous Fed chairman Warren or Powell would do, they continued to raise rates, and they raised rates 17 times instead of lowering. And at that point, there was just a huge crisis going on at the time, and the Fed was just pretty unaware of the situation and continued to raise rates. So that was what he was alluding to. He's saying, the only time I agreed with you is when you said the Fed knew nothing, because Jim currently is just kind of going along with the Fed and tailing them.
to call him out, but
Oh, yeah.
I don't
That's
know-
changed
I don't
now,
know where the
Scott.
evidence- I don't
Right?
know
They
where
didn't go
the
big
evidence
enough in
is.
a way, did they? They didn't go
I don't
big
know
enough
where
in
the
a way,
evidence
did they,
is.
Scott? I know where the evidence
The
is.
market-
I know where the
the market
evidence
told the
is.
story.
$23 trillion on its way to 30 trillion. Debt, 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 debt.
I can think where there was a lot of spending, Rick.
So there he was saying, there when he was saying you didn't go big enough in 2008, he was talking about the Fed bailout when they were talking about when they bailed out the banks. He was saying, oh, sarcastically, he's saying they didn't go big enough to Scott, kind of egging him on, which was his view, saying that the bailout should have been bigger, which was Scott's view and what his view is still to this day. So let's finish off the video here.
I can think where there was a lot of spending, Rick, that you probably supported at one point. But
Oh, yeah, that is our problem. It's all about spending. We've never had a revenue problem in this country. The more we give, the more they spend.
okay.
Any more questions, Scott?
Rick, it's been a pleasure speaking with you as always. I'm glad you stuck
Absolutely.
around.
As always.
Unexpectedly.
Me too.
You made it better. Thank you. Up next, it's Kramer.
So I really appreciate Scott for staying calm for the whole video and staying very level-headed when his kind of opponent in this verbal battle was not. But I do really not agree with his tactics there when he brought up just stuff that he would have said from 2008, and they don't even have on record. He's saying pull the clips, but obviously they didn't pull the clips, and I don't even know if they still have the ability to pull it. Like, who knows, even if they had clips of him saying that. And if he's that furious, refuting that, saying that he never said that, I would believe Rick in that situation since he was more emotionally invested. And throughout the video, kind of agreed more with Rick about the facts of the situation. Now, I do not believe that we're going to see hyperinflation because I think the situation from 2008 is completely different. And that is going to be another video. But I just thought this was very interesting, and I thought this was personally very hilarious, and thought that not very many people saw this and wanted to share that with the video, share the video with the world. So thank you for watching, and have a good one.